Todd Schnitt.
Just go ahead and click it.
Weeknights from 7 to 9 on 580 KIDO and anywhere at KIDOAM.com. It's all here.
622, 48 degrees. Thank you for joining us. 580 KIDO. Friday, big weekend. Many people are going to be at the Spirit of Boise Balloon Classic. I'll be out there tonight. And then we'll be doing the Saturday show from 5 to 8. Please stop out, check out the Night Glow from 7 to 9 tonight at Ann Morrison Park. For more information, spiritofboise.com. Joining us once again from Atlanta, our good friend Ray Steele, getting ready to break down the big game between the Broncos and the Bulldogs. We've heard a lot of people here giving us the Boise State perspective. I think actually, Ray, that going to the Dome is a much bigger, and here's something smart someone says, here's something original, ooh. It's got to be a bigger advantage than playing in Athens for the Bulldogs.
A bigger advantage for the Bulldogs? Why is that?
Just because of the Dome, it's loud, it's intimate, you have that tradition, you have the craziness of Atlanta. You go to Athens, and yeah, it's between the hedges, but there's something about that Dome that's a little bit more crazier, I think.
I don't know if I would necessarily agree with you there. Yes, it has the potential for the noise. I don't know that it would be as loud as Athens is, at least at the beginning of a game. At the beginning of a game, Athens is enormously loud. Is it as loud as Tuscaloosa? No. Is it as loud as Gainesville, Florida? No. But it is pretty dadgum loud. So I don't know if that's necessarily an advantage for Georgia. I think it'll be different for Boise State playing there as opposed to their opener against Virginia Tech last year. That type of atmosphere does, I think, work a little bit to Georgia's advantage. I'm not necessarily sure it's that much more of an advantage as to playing at Athens, though.
Well, but here's the split. You've got about 80% Georgia fans, 20% Boise fans. Most of the time when they play in the Dome, it's the Fiesta Bowl, which is again, I guess I'm overhyping the Dome here. It's a little different down south than it is in Arizona.
Well, that's certainly true as well. The type of crowd you get, how much they are into the football game, that's certainly different anywhere in the South than it is certainly in Arizona or anywhere else in the country. You could argue Notre Dame on a good day or Michigan on a good day, but they haven't had very many good days in Notre Dame or Michigan as of late, and I don't think they will again this year. So you're right about that as far as the southern atmosphere. That will be to Georgia's advantage.
Now, how will the crowd impact the Broncos?
I think by now Boise State is seasoned enough, at least Kellen Moore is seasoned enough to where he can handle the crowd. What I'm not sure about is whether he will be able to handle Georgia's defense. Now, you may chuckle when I say that, given the quality of Georgia's defenses the last few seasons. But call me crazy. I got to believe that Mark Richt and the defensive assistants especially are going to come out Kellen Moore with every crazy, ridiculous scheme that they can think of, and they are going to confuse, at least early on, Kellen Moore. And I think that plus the Dome atmosphere might cause some problems for Boise State on Saturday. Now, I'm not predicting that Georgia's going to go wild this season. I'm not predicting that they're going to win any national titles. I don't think they're even going to come close to an SEC title. But
sounds like you have some rabid Bulldog fans in the background there.
I do. I've got a little 3-year-old who would be the third most compelling person on Boise radio right about now. But anyway.
Yes, sir.
The Rock digresses. I think the atmosphere plus the fact that I think Mark Richt and his staff are going to pull out every trick they can, anything they can do to get that crowd, or at least the Georgia part of that crowd, on their side and make that a loud place. I think that's going to affect Kellen Moore some, and I actually think, we haven't gotten to the prediction part of this yet, I think Georgia is going to pull off what many would consider an upset tomorrow night.
And we'll get to the key to the game in a minute, but going back to the defense for the Bulldogs, many folks here in the Treasure Valley may not know, was it last year or the year before where Richt had to fire his entire defensive staff so much that he was down to grad assistants coaching in the bowl game?
Yeah, that was 2 years ago, where he fired the defensive coordinator and a couple of assistants prior to the bowl game, and the staff was completely revamped last year. Not a whole lot of improvement last year, honestly, but then again, I don't think there's that much improvement this year. I really think that Georgia is a middle-of-the-pack team once again this season. But I think for 1 week, especially since it's opening week, and everything is on the table, all the cards are out there, I think that Georgia, in this atmosphere, on their virtual home ground, can pull off enough stops. And Aaron Murray, let's be honest, Aaron Murray is a sophomore. He is a very talented quarterback, and supposedly Isaiah Crowell, this freshman tailback, we've heard the second coming of Herschel Walker a lot down here. There's no second coming of Herschel Walker, but he does appear to be a very talented runner. I think he is going to create a lot of problems defensively for Boise in this game. Boise may very well run the table the rest of the season, but I don't know that they can handle what they're about to be introduced to tomorrow night.
Well, it'll be a challenge for Kellen Moore. He's lost his 2 receivers, and I was just going to say, again, a different team last year against Virginia Tech, but based on that game you saw last year, handling the physicality, and that was one of my big concerns last year, could the Broncos hang with a big physical team from the ACC? Now, the ACC physicality, very different from the SEC physicality.
Yeah, come on, Kevin. No disrespect, Kevin, but physicality, ACC, those 2 words haven't gone together since Lawrence Taylor was at North Carolina. What was that, 30-something years ago now?
I've been away too long, Rock.
Come on. I mean, the physicality, ACC, the most physical thing in North Carolina has to do with a round ball because they don't necessarily know what to do with an oblong-shaped ball in the state of North Carolina, nor much else outside of a round ball when you think about that. But anyway, I digress again. Doesn't mean to get off point. You're done, sweetie? The physicality of the ACC.
Hold on, now this is we just don't get any guests on this show, folks. Here we have the Rock Ray Steele giving us not only his predictions about Boise and the Bulldogs, but we've got some thoughts on North Carolina. We're talking to the third member of the broadcast team here. Quite a great job you're doing this morning, my friend.
Hey, the third member of the broadcast team tried to talk her way on the air a couple of times already here. So.
See, she's learning at a young age. That's how you do it. So how do you see this breaking down here at 580 KIDO? By the way, it's 629, 48 degrees. Ray Steele joining us from the great state of Georgia. How do you've predicted a Georgia upset, which to me says the Broncos have come a long way. If, last time they played Georgia beat them at, between the hedges, and that was in 2005. Very different programs, a tale of 2 teams. How do you see this playing out tomorrow?
Well, you're right. And to characterize this as an upset does mean a lot for how far Boise State has come as a program and for how far Georgia has fallen as a program over the last few years. That's certainly correct. But I think given the atmosphere, given where this game is, given the fact that it's down here and not up there or at a more neutral site, if this were being played in Nashville even, Boise State might have a chance. But this is Atlanta. This is SEC country. This is the cradle of college football. Birmingham, Alabama, yours and my former home, used to be the cradle of college football until, Alabama and Auburn decided to move elsewhere and not play in Birmingham anymore.
Sure.
Atlanta is the hotbed. Atlanta is home to the SEC championship game. It is the epicenter of the college football world, whether anybody else in the country likes it or doesn't like it. And I think for that reason, for this 1 week, because honestly I think Georgia's going to lose to South Carolina week 2 after this, but I think Georgia pulls out all the stops. I think everything works for them, or enough things work to where they can pull off an upset. Now, what that does to Boise State if it happens, all those questions that a lot of folks around the country have had about Boise State start coming back. Were they legit all this time? Blah, blah, blah. But, that's not for me to deal with. All that I care about is tomorrow night. And I think that Georgia, despite the ugly uniforms, despite doing a lot of things wrong over the last few years, and Mark Richt has done a lot of things wrong. He's recruited a lot of.
I think I've talked you into a Georgia victory. You were when we started this, you were predicting Boise.
I was skeptical of Georgia. No, what I said was the Georgia fan was skeptical of a Georgia victory.
Right.
I'm not skeptical of a Georgia victory. I think they pull off the upset. It's going to be a close game, might be by a field goal, but I think Georgia pulls off the win.
Well, we'll let you get back to your pregame preparations there with the third member of the broadcast team.
I appreciate it, Kevin, as always. It is a pleasure to talk to you. It's a pleasure to talk to the people of Idaho, and hope y'all enjoy the game, enjoy watching the game tomorrow win, lose, or draw. Well, there's no draw anymore. I forgot. We've got overtime now.
Well, we'll love to talk to you on Monday for a refresher.
Sounds great, man.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Kevin.
Take care. That's our good friend Ray Steele joining us from Georgia, talking about the Broncos versus the Bulldogs. 6:32, 47 degrees. News is next, then traffic with Dave. Good morning.